So I said, well, I've either been lying to people for the last 15 years or I should give this a shot.
Hello, everyone. We are back. I'm Lee McKnight Jr., the VP of Sales for RSW US, outsourced business development for ad agencies of all types. And this is Cut to the Chase. It's the RSW interview series that delivers brief but impactful views from ad agency principals on growth strategies and the challenges that come with it in today's weird, evolving landscape. Colleen Gallagher, founder, president, and CEO of OnWrd UpWrd. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be on with you today.
Absolutely. It's great to have you. Let's get some location here first. So you all are in Old Town Alexandria, which is essentially DC, Northern Virginia area?
You got it. Yeah, we're right outside of DC. You can see the Washington Monument across the water here, right in the Northern Virginia suburbs.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you're right there.
I love it here. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So let's get a little more context. But before we start, we always throw out a version of this question. Now, didn't throw this out to you before. Just roll with it however you like.
All right.
But would you rather answer an RFP or eat a gallon of warm mayonnaise on a hot beach?
Wow, that's disgusting.
So I hate RFPs and I almost never do them, but I'm also the world's pickiest eater and you will never catch me eating mayonnaise. So I'm going to have to go with RFP on this one.
Oh, only the second time. And I kind of forced you into it. That one, Craig was like, that's pretty gross, man. I go, I know. I want to really see how much she doesn't like RFPs. So, okay, we found the limit.
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, you're only one of two that have said RFP.
That's too funny.
I know.
Yeah, no, I'm the world's pickiest eater. I mean, I didn't eat my first cheeseburger until college. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
My son's the same way. He's freshman in college. It was like, yeah, it's interesting. You know, it just takes time. It's got to be right, you know?
Exactly, yeah.
Start with a warm mayonnaise.
What I like.
Yeah, warm mayonnaise first and go from there. Okay, now that we've kind of broken the ice there, let's lay some context out for folks, you know, watching. Your agency, OnWrd UpWrd, focuses on trade associations, nonprofits, and corporate travel, and as far as services, public relations, and marketing. So in terms of staff, how many folks are there?
Yeah, so we've actually grown a lot. We started this agency just a little over 2 years ago with two of us. We're now at 8 people, plus we have an intern each summer, and we bring in this intern in the spring and fall semesters as well. So it's been exciting, fun, and hectic and quick all at the same time, but it's been awesome to see the growth.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's in a short time. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. When do you sleep?
Well, I also have a 2-year-old, so never.
Oh my gosh. I know you really don't. Wow. Well, let's keep going. Congratulations, I should say. And well, let's keep going with some context. So tell us a little bit about your background, because it's interesting. You know, you didn't start out kind of in this industry and it's in, you know, agency life, and it's interesting how your career trajectory, I was able to say it without having to go back. Tell us about that and your experience having culminated in you know, starting OnWrd UpWrd.
Yeah, absolutely. So going way back, I went to undergrad for journalism and I was a business minor and was coming to the end of my college career in Brockport, New York, which for those who don't know is in the middle of nowhere somewhere between Rochester and Buffalo, New York, way to the west of New York there. All right. And realizing, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to be working at a newspaper in the middle of nowhere. Newspapers were not doing so great at the time. Yeah. Still on that trajectory there for them. And I just, you know, I loved writing, but it was not, my heart wasn't there. Reporting wasn't, when I started college, yes. And so I made the decision to come down to DC. I had never been, went to American University for grad school and jumped right into a master's in public communication and the PR side of things and fell in love. Wow. And I didn't go into the agency at all, which you'd think getting that degree in PR, I mean, that was what most of my, you know, friends and people coming out of that program were doing. We're going into agencies of all sizes. I landed at a trade association. So I got a job at the Consumer Technology Association. For those that don't know what that is, you might have heard of CES, which is the big consumer electronics show.
Sure.
every January in Vegas where tons of new products came out. And so I worked in their policy comms team, but we also got to go to CES and promote all the new products.
Oh,
So
nice.
I joked, I mean, the first 5 years of my career, I thought I was amazing at media relations. I was like, this is easy. But it's a lot easier when you're saying, hey, look at the latest technology from all of these big name companies everyone
Fair.
knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where I started, was in association communications. And it's a very different ballgame than, whether corporate comms or things like that. There's certainly the principles are all the same. You're writing press releases, you're reaching out to media, you're writing content, you're marketing to members, things like that. But it's also their whole own little world with
Yeah.
trade associations. And I stayed in associations for a while. So I went from there to BIO, which is the Biotechnology Industry Organization. That was a learning experience
I bet.
for sure. So they basically made two part-time jobs into a full-time job there to hire me. So I had
Okay.
two different bosses. Half my time was spent promoting GMOs and the other half promoting biofuels. So reporters
Wow.
didn't love me anymore.
I was going to say, that's quite a change. Wow.
Yeah, it was definitely different. I credit that. I was not there that long, a year and a half, 2 years, but I
Okay.
credit that time with the ability to learn how to take very complex subjects and make them relatable and
Okay.
understandable for an audience. That was kind of like what I took away from that part of my career.
Cool.
And then I would say where I really grew up in my career was when I went to Global Business Travel Association. In Consumer Tech Association, we had a 15-person comms team. There was always someone to turn to, someone to ask.
Hmm.
And at GBTA, I had the person who brought me in, who is also my co-founder here at OnWrd and UpWrd, and I'd worked with her at CEA, so we've worked together forever. But so she brought me in and wanted to step into a part-time role. So I was the
Okay.
comms team in essence. And I remember my first week
Wow.
thinking, who should I ask if I'm supposed to do this? And who's going to say yes or no? And then I was like, oh, they want me to make the
It's me.
recommendations.
Right. I mean,
um, yeah. So
buck
it
stops
really,
there. Yeah.
yeah, it really gave me the opportunity to grow because
Okay.
I got to do anything and everything. I wanted to launch a blog. I learned how to build a blog and start a blog. Wanted to start a podcast, learned how to produce a podcast, do a podcast, built a broadcast studio for them. So
Oh,
really
cool.
let me, get my hands dirty in all different types of comms, marketing, PR related efforts. And when it finally came time for an end there, I did work at an agency, and that was kind of my learning
Oh, there it
period
is.
of like,
Okay.
here's where agency works. And I actually went to the agency who we were a client of. So they hired me away from GBTA,
Ah,
and I learned a tremendous amount in that year and a half. But always at heart, I knew I wanted to start my own company someday. And Megan and I, Megan's my co-founder, we had drinks on March 19th, 2020.
very specific. Wow. Okay.
Yes, right before the lockdown. So maybe it was March 10th, because March 11th
Oh,
was the
right.
day
Yeah.
COVID was declared.
Yes.
Yeah, so March 10th. And we, talked through a business plan and, said, this is possible. And thought about it a bit. And it was the next year when we launched it. But it was funny because it was kind of now or never. I was like, let's just do it. And it was like, if we can start a business now during COVID, during this
Right.
time, and have success, this is going to work.
Right. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
it was a
awesome.
long, winding road. And sorry, I just talked for like 10 minutes at you, but that was how I got here.
No, I think folks watching will be interested because everyone's got not similar stories, but I was kind of the same way. I didn't come from the agency world. I kind of came in through the back door through law and then worked with an agency. So this isn't
Okay.
about me, but I know that's why I asked specifically because I thought that trajectory, as I said, was really
A little
cool.
different.
So it really is. So I love it, but it does make sense. I mean, there's ultimately those connecting dots. That's kind of cool. Okay, we're a business development firm here at RSW, so we have a few questions based around there. And this is the one where I put you on the spot a little bit, but going to ask, what is OnWrd and UpWrd's point of difference?
I love that question. And I think when you can't
Good.
articulate that, I mean,
Well, I
there's
agree, but
so many agencies. So
yeah.
it comes from our tagline, and we say we do the work. And that's a part of it. But what it really comes down to is for those association clients that we're working with, the nonprofits, is we understand them. That background I told you about, I mean, we know the insides and
Okay.
outs of working association. No one needs to explain to us the politics of a difficult board, of how to communicate to different kinds of members. We can come in on day one and just be an extension of your team. And
Nice.
having worked at an association, we hired lots of consultants over the years, and they were great, brilliant, loved working with agencies. But at the same time, so often they'd come in with these big ideas. We'd have a great meeting. And then we leave with like a mountain of a to-do list. And I was like, no, I already work 1,000,000 hours a day.
Right.
How am I going to do this? And so our thing is that we bring both the inspiration and the perspiration. So
Nice.
we're not just there to give you the ideas. We love that. We love strategy. We love big ideas,
Sure.
but we're also going to help you execute. And that I found really hits home with association comms and marketing professionals, because so many of them are small shops, sometimes one person teams.
Right.
They're overworked. They just need help. And so when they hear that you're there, not just to give them ideas, but to help them execute, you know, thank you. So
Right.
that's served us well in terms of our differentiator.
That's a great answer. And you know what I like is that there's a lot, what you said there in the very beginning. There's a lot of firms out there that will say, hey, we're an extension of your team. It's too many say that, quite frankly. And it's not that it's not true. But what they typically mean is they're talking about like marketing, big picture, or like advertising. Whereas when you say that, it's like, I've come from that world. Not only that, but this is what we do every day. And I mean, truly an extension of your position, not just marketing overall. So I think it's pretty cool when you can actually walk that walk, I guess, if you will. So I like that. So this is actually a nice dovetail into the next question, because this is one of the reasons we actually met the first time at the AMI conference. And as we sat together at one of the roundtables that I was doing, we got to talking, and I think I asked you right there, hey, you want to be on this because you would describe the Association 100, and I loved it. So for folks who don't know what that is, tell us a little bit about what the Association 100 is, and you know how you use it, how it works.
Yeah, so this has been an incredible tool for us, and I love it. So we're the publishers of the Association 100, and it's a bi-monthly newsletter that features video interviews, podcasts, and 100-word articles, mostly with association professionals, and it goes up to 30,000 association professionals across the U.S.
Wow.
All the content's designed to help them be better at their jobs, to give them ideas. You know, we call it content that informs and inspires.
Yeah.
What's great is it's through this group called 100 Companies, and we're in essence a franchise is what I would call it. But what makes it easy for us is they came to us with the list. You know, we can add people, of course, you know, our contacts and new people we meet, but they got us started with 30,000 people on that list that work in associations. So talk about a lead generator right there.
No kidding.
They also manage the website. They send out the newsletter, they build the newsletter. All we have to do is create the content. And we also have access to that list. So if we want to use that for emails, we can look at the analytics and the stats. We can see, you know, what's resonating, what's doing well, what's not.
Nice. Okay.
But it serves two purposes. So one, our whole claim to why we're different is that we know associations, and now we're not in that world. So constantly talking to these people, I can stay on the pulse. I can know what's going on, know what's on their mind.
Absolutely.
But then what an amazing door opener for us, because I'm not calling to say, hi, I run a PR firm. Can I tell you about what we do?
Yeah.
I'm calling to say, hey, I would love to feature you in a newsletter that's going out to 30,000 people.
Yeah.
Are you interested? And that changes the game.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I love it. And we keep going.
Yeah. So, you know, for us, I mean, it has changed the way we thought about selling. And I also, part of that comes from getting more involved. As you mentioned, we met at an AMI conference. I've learned a lot through the podcasts they put out, through the meetings I've been to, the importance of giving away content and showing your authority. And that's what I feel like this really lets us do. I mean, we get to showcase twice a month, firsthand, all of our knowledge about associations, about communications, marketing, you know, you name it. This lets us do that in a way that's fun, in a way that's not salesy. It's informative and it's helpful, and it lets us put out a steady stream of content that actually gets people interested in who we are and what we're doing.
I love it. Obviously, from a business development standpoint, I mean, agencies, and we're gonna hit some more pieces of this, and folks are gonna get a full picture once this interview is done. We're gonna have multiple links, because I think if you're an agency struggling with content, thought leadership, or just authority, because it's one thing we always talk about here at RSW is when we're representing our clients, the way that you're going to break through is by establishing that authority out of the gate. Expertise is another word we can use for it, right? Because if you don't, you're just another email that gets sent.
Yep.
A lot of them are terrible, you know, and it's, so I love the fact that, and granted, not that every single agency is going to be able to do as specifically what you're doing, but there's absolutely a way to, and I encourage everyone to go to Colleen's LinkedIn, go and check out some of these links, because it'll inspire you if you're kind of struggling with like, what are we doing, in this agency. So yeah, kudos, because you're obviously putting some work in, and so we'll continue. So conventions and conferences, let's talk about that, because they make up part of the services you offer, which is interesting. But then you attend them as well. So for example, the 2023 ASAE annual meeting and expo is coming up here in August. Now, if you could talk to us about the importance just of those big picture, but not only in terms of what your agency offers to clients, but in terms of potential new business.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of the offering for clients, what we really provide is we know how to get media attention for your
Okay.
conference. One of the things we've done for years now, back before starting this, and now we've done with clients at ONU, is help build a media day, in essence, a press event at your conference that turns your annual conference as an association into the place where industry news is broken. So you
Nice.
want to focus that as everyone is holding their news. All of the companies think, hey, that's where my news needs to come out. We
Okay.
want to make that a big deal. It just helps elevate your industry, your association, your ROI that you can provide your members and your
Sure.
attendees and your exhibitors that are coming. There's a lot that it can do. So that's one of the big pieces that we offer with conferences and conventions for our clients. But turning the tables, having worked in association life for so many years, over and over and over again, I said, on that exhibit floor, that's where business gets done. People come to
Sure.
conventions to do business. So I said, well, I've either been lying to people for the last 15 years, or I should give this a shot. And
Right.
so that's where ASAE comes in. And for
Okay.
people that don't know, ASAE is basically the Association for Associations. So all of the attendees are association professionals and executives on down through
Sure.
different levels at associations. But it's very much our target audience that is there. So
Right.
that the being there in person, you don't get as many opportunities since COVID to meet and interact with people face to face. And
Yeah.
so I really think they're a big part of BizDev and making that presence and visibility, showcasing who you are. It's not just the people you go there planning to meet, it's the people who see you who didn't know who you were, and that
Sure.
chance to be there with them in person it does a lot, and I think it's really important.
Yeah, and I think, again, what's fabulous is that I saw, for example, as I was doing a little bit of research prior to us having this interview, that you're offering up to attendees to have them be interviewed for the A100 during the ASAE. So you're conducting interviews for articles, podcasts, videos, and I'd mentioned that I just said I would love that strategy, as you said, given who's obviously attending this
Yeah.
conference. I mean, is that something that you've always done in conferences? Is offer that up, or is this new for this particular ASAE?
So this is our second year doing this at
Okay,
ASAE, but it's much expanded.
nice.
um
So it worked the first time.
Yeah, last year we
Cool.
just did written articles. We just interviewed people and went back to them with an article after.
Okay,
So this year we have a bigger booth space. We're adding the option to record podcasts and record video interviews on site.
nice.
So we'll see. I mean, this is the real test. Last year, I was really happy with it, but I will say last year also we were only about a year old, and some of the rapid growth that we've experienced was due to an acquisition I made last year of another
Okay.
agency, and that happened in July, and this conference was in August. So we truly started promoting that
Oh
we
wow.
would be there and would do interviews about 10 days before we
Right.
went.
Hey, we're going to be there tomorrow. Do you want
Yeah,
to?
yeah,
Wow, that's crazy.
yeah.
Okay.
So it was great. We had 15 meetings while we were there. We had some
Oh,
amazing
that's
content,
awesome.
which, that fills a couple months of content for us, which is fantastic.
Totally.
And so our goal is, if lead development would be amazing, but the biggest thing is to meet people. We want
Yeah.
people to really know who the A100 is and who OnWrd and UpWrd is. So we brand our booth as the A100 powered by OnWrd and UpWrd. So we've got both
Cool.
brands there. We've got them tied together. And so even people that, might not ever end up being clients, but could still be good for us to meet, to learn what they're doing. We're
Sure.
looking to interview them. We're looking to talk with them. So one, it's creating a wealth of content, which makes the rest of the year a lot easier when
Right.
you've got that all in the can. And then who knows, the ideal is that we do meet a few people who we would be a great fit for and who we
Yeah.
could have a good client relationship with.
Yeah. How many folks is the entire agency, his entire firm going to be there
We'll
at this
bring three
conference?
people with us, so we'll have three on
Okay.
site. Yeah, we brought
Wow.
two last year, myself and
Okay.
one other, and this year we're gonna have three. And
Nice.
I, my colleagues joke I tend to set very ambitious goals, so I would love to do 50 interviews while we're there over the 2 days.
Ooh,
So we'll see how
wow.
that goes if that comes to fruition, but
Ooh,
that's my
yeah.
hope.
That would be amazing. All right, we're gonna have to
Yeah,
have a follow-up interview and
I'll let you know.
see what you hit. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So you gave a little bit of advice here, but maybe just to articulate it completely. I mean, especially now, and you touched on this, right? Post-pandemic, I've certainly talked to agencies who in the past might have had some good conferences, whether it was with clients or, to your point, meeting these folks. But I certainly know there's plenty now who are like, well, is it worth it now? And it hasn't been that long. I mean, what advice would you give to other agency principals or owners, on conferences at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is you have to do what you feel comfortable with in your own realm of, safety. But looking beyond that,
True.
there's so much excitement now about being back in person, and it's
Nice.
fun. I mean, it just feels so good to be back out there with people and to
I'm
to
sure.
not see them through a screen all the time. So
Yeah.
I think capitalize on that. I mean, people want to meet other people. They want to go out, and introduce themselves and network
Sure.
and make real connections. So take advantage of that is what I would say. If you're comfortable with it, it's a great chance to build relationships in a way that's a lot easier, I think, than trying to nurture a new relationship over Zoom.
Yeah, I would agree. Just that AMI conference was fantastic here in
I know.
Chicago not too long ago. And I would agree that personal connection does mean something. Not that you have to go to conferences to
Right.
accomplish your goals, but I would say to agencies, because I've had conversations, like what you just mentioned, that they're like, it's a great time to be doing it and to be back. And it's been good for us. So appreciate that advice. Let's keep going with content, because specifically, I want agencies who, again, if they're struggling with consistency of content, take a look at Colleen's, and it may be on, and we'll have that link, and I'm going to ask you this specifically as well, and stop saying that word, but your association insights videos. So looking at your LinkedIn profile, for example, I love these because you focus on, and I haven't watched every single one, but what I'm seeing is focusing essentially on one question. That those videos are each usually 2 to 3 minutes. Some are a little bit longer, but I love how it's kind of in and out. You get that question answered thoroughly, and then you're done. And for
Yeah.
attention spans and for that audience, it's awesome.
Welcome back to Association Insights. I'm Colleen Gallagher, and this is OnWrd and UpWrd's weekly series answering all of your communications and marketing questions. This week's question came through asking, what are some ways I can recognize our members? I know we've got to be better at member recognition, but what should we do? I'm out of ideas.
That was kind of what I wanted to do with these originally. And I was like, what am I going to do in 3 minutes? Well, but when you have the one question,
Yeah.
not that you invented that, but I don't see too many agencies doing that. And it's, I love it. So explain that a little bit and kind of what that process is like.
Yeah, so this has been a lot of fun. I started this in February. So we've talked about AMI a couple of times now, the Agency Management Institute. So I went
Right.
to a workshop they offered last January that was all about content marketing and using content to really drive your business development strategy. And again,
Okay.
just being that resource. One of the exercises they made us do there was, if you were to do a video series or a podcast series, something like this, what are 50 topic ideas? And they gave us 10 minutes. I mean, they walked around and looked at our
Oh,
papers.
wow.
I had 48. They were like, you're not done.
Feel like you're in
So,
school. Yeah.
yeah, no. But I walked out of there and I was like, I've got a year's worth. I would have sat there never doing this series, because in my mind,
Yeah.
how am I going to keep coming up with content? That's daunting because you're so
It is.
busy. I mean, it's hard to take care of yourself. I joke, since becoming a mom, I feel like being an agency owner is very similar in that you're always taking care of everyone else, that you forget to take care of yourself. And I look at like our
Yeah.
social channels sometime and I'm like, oh my God, like people are going to think we don't know how to do social media. We need to get on this.
That's
So,
great.
making that time, but making it easy.
Yeah.
They really
Yes.
don't take me long. So I've got, like I said, I've got all the topics, and
Okay.
they are those quick, it's one question, so that I don't have to spend a ton of time, because no one has time to listen to
Right.
me prattle on every week. If this were, an interview or something like this, that's different. But this
Yeah.
is just me talking to a camera and answering one association communications or marketing related question each week.
Yeah.
And it gives me a chance to showcase not only what I know, but what we're good at and the things that we work on in a way, again, that's non-threatening, that's helpful, that's offering things up. And so what I'll do a lot of times is I'll write out the scripts for the next month ahead of time, and I'll record 4 at once and send them off. So they're done.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's literally spending a couple hours one day to write some scripts, film 4 or 5 videos, send them off to our editor, who really just puts a top and tail and lower third and captions them for me, which is huge.
Okay.
But I do one take. If I mess up, I mess up. That's how we talk. I'm not going to.
I love that though.
About that. Yeah.
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 It's personal. It's feel like here's a human talking to me, and if
exactly.
you do, I didn't see you. By the way, on those I watched, you didn't mess up any. But
well,
if there are, you should do a blooper reel. And
yeah, right.
Yeah, I really do encourage folks to go on your LinkedIn and look. I had another question that you pretty much answered, and I think well, and that was just for folks watching. I mean, how long do these take you? And you just said the way you just broke it out, which I think is great. Like I'm doing 3 or 4. In a grouping, so that way. And how often are you doing it?
I mean, so it's a few hours a month, gets me 1 week post a week, so it really, like when you break it down that way, does not take that much time. For a while, I was trying to film it every week and get it ready. And then you run into oh my God, it's Friday. I haven't done this yet.
Yeah.
And it slips.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's part of that, like making time for it and making it a priority is not letting that happen. And that's when I shifted more to this. I'm going to sit down near the end of the month, write all my scripts, do all my filming for next month, and be done with it. And now LinkedIn lets you schedule posts too. So a lot of times I'll just get them scheduled. The only time I switch it is if someone sends me a question that I really want to answer, then I'll maybe adjust and do one on the fly. But otherwise, I get them ready and let them fly.
Cool. Yeah, because I was going to ask you advice that you give. I think you just gave it. It was great advice just in terms of that's the one thing. And we had, I think it was our second episode, principal at Williams Whittle, Kelly, who she does quite a bit of content. She does the Two Moms podcast, and she and another agency principal are doing that together and asked the same question. And it was very much along the lines of, most podcasts, or you can take, it doesn't have to be a podcast per se, it could be your videos. Mm-hmm. But specifically, the average number that folks quit at is after number 6. And it's some crazy percentage, like 80% don't go past episode 6 or something. So, and I was like, I get it, because, during COVID, everyone thought these agencies like, okay, this is the time we got to do this. And now there's all these podcasts with 2 episodes, and there's interviews, or there's your question series, there's 3 of them. And that was 8 months ago. So kudos. And I think just any other advice you give to folks, I think what you've given is already great. But that planning piece and not trying to do it every week, I think is absolutely on point.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is you just got to do it. It's as simple as that. I mean, I know that sounds so basic, but you can talk about it. If you don't actually make the time and get it done, it'll always be an idea and something we could do, should do, want to do.
Right. And tell us, obviously I've mentioned your LinkedIn, which will have a link there. Can they find those videos anywhere else, or is that predominantly where you're posting them?
They're primarily on LinkedIn. We're working on getting them on our
OnWrd
UpWrd YouTube channel, but right now they're pretty much all on my LinkedIn. Okay. And that's Colleen Lerro Gallagher on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And as I said, we'll definitely have a link there. I think for what you're doing, not that I'm the expert, but YouTube, I mean, it seems like it'd be easy enough. Well, easy, there's always work, but would be a good channell for you too. So anyway, not to try to tell you where you should be, but
second largest search engine, YouTube. So
there you go.
It's one of those things.
Exactly.
Got to get the content there.
Yeah, when we started out, it was always, we're going to do both, but it because they say LinkedIn, you should do the native videos. And so Craig's over there doing 2 sets of videos, essentially. It's like, but it's working better with these. So, okay, awesome. So a few more questions for you. And this is one where we're switching gears. I would ask you to give us the strangest or weirdest or oddest thing a client ever asked you to do or requested. And we'll keep it anonymous.
So there's a lot, but if I had to.
And you had said this before. I was like, oh, there's a lot. All right.
One that could definitely stay anonymous. We had a client who asked if we could get national media attention for a story of theirs that was very, very niche, but it went viral on their LinkedIn, they told me. And so I thought, let me take a look. Well, their definition of viral was 100 likes.
You don't know what I mean by going viral.
Woo! We crushed it.
Congratulations. I'm really excited. This is great engagement, but I don't think this is going to be on CNN.
And you had to talk them down a little bit. They're so
Had
excited.
to manage those expectations. Yes.
They had a cake, they had a party, and you just went and you
I
crushed
know.
them.
I ruined their.
What did
ruined
they
their
do? Were they
parade.
like, did you have to like literally, they're like, oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
It's been a process educating and the expectations and what qualifies as national news. So we're getting there.
Oh my God, that's funny. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, last question, and this has been great so far, but we mentioned that we not only push these out to our agency folks, but also to marketers on our agency search side. So we like to throw something out, kind of to them. So as our last question, if you could give one piece of advice to a client or a marketer, a potential client, to make their agency relationships more effective, what would it be? And you sent me over an article that I'm going to make sure that we include. That I think is I believe you said is going to be part of the answer, but it was great. So I'll let you talk.
Yeah. So the article I shared with you was something we put together for cases where a lot of times when we're working with associations, nonprofits, they might be so small they don't have a comms and marketer true person on their staff.
Right.
So we geared this towards, how do you work with an agency if you don't have the comms marketing background? But I think all of those same kind of rules apply. And I think the number one piece of advice for anyone working with an agency to have success is you need to be upfront, transparent, and honest about expectations and roles.
Okay.
If you can't do that, nothing else is going to work. It's always going to be, well, why aren't they doing this? And, well, I thought we would get here and, this would be happening by now. And if you're not having those conversations and a way to measure them, you're not going to have success working with an agency.
That's fantastic. Yes, succinct to the point. And the article was really good. And we will make sure we have links to
Great.
everything today. So Colleen Gallagher, thank you so much. Onward and Upward. It's been awesome. And we want to report on the 50 interviews.
I'll let you know. Now I put it out there.
After you sleep for a week and you stayed up for 48 hours or something. But sincerely, it's been awesome having you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Lee. This was a blast.